There's a strange moment a lot of neurodivergent people experience at some point in adulthood. It usually sounds like this in your head. Why does everything feel easier when no one is watching me? Not easier in the sense that the work itself disappears. Not easier because you suddenly became more motivated or disciplined, just quieter, more breathable, more possible. For a long time, I thought that meant something was wrong with me, because we're taught very early on that structure equals success, that accountability means someone checking your work, that productivity requires supervision, deadlines, meetings, and constant visibility. But for a lot of neurodivergent brains, that version of structure doesn't create focus, it creates pressure. And pressure doesn't motivate us, it fragments us. Today I want to talk about autonomy, not in a hustle culture, be your own boss way, but in the nervous system sense. Why so many ND brains thrive when they're given control over how and when they work. Why asynchronous, self-paced systems feel calmer than traditional productivity advice. And how AI, when used gently, is quietly making this kind of autonomy possible for more people than ever before. This isn't about escaping responsibility, it's about finally working with your brain instead of against it. Most traditional work systems are built around one assumption, that people do their best work when they are constantly observed. Observed by managers, observed by coworkers, observed by systems that track time, output, responsiveness, and compliance. If you respond quickly, you're engaged. If you're always available, you're reliable. If you work the same hours every day, you're consistent. But neurodivergent brains don't always express competence in visible ways. A lot of our work happens internally first. We think deeply. We pattern match. We sit with ideas longer than people expect. We might look disengaged while our brain is actually doing something complex and nonlinear. And the moment that process is interrupted by a meeting, a notification, a quick question, the whole thing collapses. It's not that we can't handle responsibility, it's that constant external control competes with our internal regulation. Autonomy removes that competition. When ND people talk about wanting autonomy, they're not saying, I don't want rules, I don't want expectations, I don't want to contribute. What they're really saying is, I need control over my cognitive load, because every instruction, every context switch, every demand on attention costs us more energy than it seems to cost others. Not because we're weaker, but because our brains process more inputs at once. Sound, light, tone, ambiguity, unspoken expectations. So when someone else controls our time, our environment, and our workflow, we're spending most of our energy just staying regulated. There's very little left for creativity, insight, or sustained focus. Autonomy flips that equation. Think about the last time you worked completely alone. No one waiting for a reply, no one timing you, no one watching the clock. Just you, your task, and the space to move at your own rhythm. For many ND people, that's when hyperfocus shows up naturally, not because you forced it, but because the conditions finally allowed it. Autonomy lets us work in bursts instead of pretending to be steady all day, follow interest instead of forcing motivation, take breaks before burnout, not after switch tasks intentionally, not reactively, and most importantly, it lets us recover without guilt. That's something productivity culture almost never accounts for. Traditional productivity advice assumes energy is linear. Wake up, work, push, rest at night, repeat. But neurodivergent energy is cyclical. Some days your brain is sharp and expansive. Other days it's foggy, sensitive, or overstimulated. Autonomy allows you to adapt to that reality instead of fighting it. You can do deep work when your brain is ready for it, and low-demand tasks when it isn't. You stop measuring yourself by hours and start measuring by outcomes. And that's where asynchronous work comes in. Async work is one of the most ND-friendly shifts happening right now, even though most people don't talk about it that way. Asynchronous work means you don't have to respond immediately. You don't have to be on at the same time as everyone else. You can think before you answer. You can structure your day around energy, not meetings. For ND brains, this is huge. It removes the constant pressure of real-time performance. You're not judged by how fast you reply, but by the clarity of what you produce. That single change lowers anxiety dramatically, and when anxiety drops, executive function improves, which brings us to AI. AI is often framed as a productivity accelerator. Do more, faster, at scale. But for neurodivergent people, its most powerful role is much quieter. AI acts like a buffer between your thoughts and the world, between intention and execution, between overwhelm and clarity. When you use AI as an assistant instead of a replacement, it absorbs the parts of work that drain us the most: the organizing, the translating, the structuring, the repetitive setup, and it does so without urgency, without judgment, without demanding that you perform on its timeline. Think about how much mental energy it takes to turn an idea into something shareable. You might know exactly what you want to say, but struggle to outline it, to order it, to decide where to start. AI can hold that structure for you, not by thinking for you, but by giving your thoughts somewhere to land. You talk, it organizes, you dump ideas, it sorts, you pause, it waits. That's autonomy. You're still in control, but you're not alone with the friction. Autonomy isn't isolation, it's sovereignty. It's knowing that your brain works best when it's trusted. And for the first time, technology is starting to align with that truth. We're seeing more project-based work, more creator-led income, more solo operators supported by tools instead of teams, not because everyone wants to work alone, but because autonomy lets people show up better when they do collaborate. Less burnt out, less reactive, more grounded. If you've struggled in traditional systems, it doesn't mean you're incapable of discipline. It means your brain needs different conditions. Autonomy gives you those conditions. Async work protects your attention. Self-paced systems protect your energy. AI protects your executive function. Together, they create something many ND people have never experienced before. Work that doesn't cost your nervous system. Work that leaves room for recovery. Work that feels sustainable. The same thing applies to planning. For a lot of ND people, planning isn't hard because we don't care. It's hard because it requires imagining multiple futures at once and choosing one without full information. AI helps by externalizing that process. You can say, here's what I have, here's what I want, here's what overwhelms me. And it can reflect that back in a calmer, linear form, not a rigid schedule, a flexible map, one you can revisit when your brain changes. What's important here is how AI is used. If it becomes another system telling you what to do, when to do it, and how fast it will fail you. But if it becomes a quiet collaborator, it supports autonomy instead of replacing it. You decide the pace, you decide the direction, you decide when to stop. AI just reduces the friction between steps. That's why so many ND people report that AI feels easier than humans sometimes. Not because humans are bad, but because AI doesn't demand social performance. There's no tone to interpret, no urgency to decode, no emotional labor layered on top of the task, just input and response. That simplicity creates space. And that's the part I want to leave you with. You don't need to become someone else to succeed. You don't need to force yourself into systems that drain you just because they're familiar. The future of work is quieter than we were promised. And for neurodivergent brains, that's not a disadvantage. It's finally an invitation. If your brain doesn't fit the system, subscribe. I'll show you how AI can adapt to you. Keep learning, keep growing, and I'll see you in the next one.